History tells us that the idea of colonization is not new, and it has existed in various forms throughout history. The Phoenicians, Greeks, Romans, and Han Chinese all established colonies to expand their influence, trade, and power. However, the modern era of colonialism began in the 15th century. It was primarily started by Portugal and Spain during the Age of Discovery. Portugal began this wave with the conquest of Ceuta, Morocco, in 1415. They continued to establish trade outposts and military bases along the coast of Africa and in the Indian Ocean. Spain followed, notably with Christopher Columbus's voyage in 1492, which led to the colonization of the Americas. These initial colonial powers were later joined by other European nations, including the Netherlands, France, and Britain, as they competed for global dominance and resources. So the question arises, why did the British people begin the colonization of foreign lands? What motivated them to embark on this journey that would span across continents and change the course of world history? The answer lies in the heart of England's identity, its geography. England, an island off the continent of Europe, was geographically isolated. Although connected to mainland Europe, England was separated by a narrow channel, the English Channel. This physical distance limited direct access to continental affairs and fostered a sense of distinctiveness among the English people. Their separation from the European mainland shaped their culture, politics, and identity, contributing to the emergence of a unique English consciousness. This distinctive identity played a pivotal role in shaping England's trajectory. It fostered a sense of unity and solidarity among the English people. The geographical isolation served as a crucible, forging a cohesive national identity that would become a driving force in England's rise to power. The second factor that influenced the British colonization was the medieval period in England, which saw significant changes in the political landscape. During this time, England transitioned from a decentralized system of rule to a more centralized monarchy under the influence of monarchs like William the Conqueror and Edward I. This process laid the groundwork for the development of a strong central government capable of directing and financing ambitious ventures overseas. One of the most significant developments during the medieval period was the establishment of Parliament, which represented a crucial step towards a more representative form of government. While the power of the monarch was still significant, the inclusion of Parliament in the decision-making process marked the beginning of a shift towards greater accountability and legitimacy. This evolution in governance contributed to the growth of a powerful and influential English state that would later support colonization efforts. As England progressed into the early modern period, it faced a series of crises that profoundly impacted its trajectory. The Black Death, a devastating pandemic that swept through Europe in the 14th century, had a profound impact on England. The massive loss of life resulted in labor shortages, which in turn led to significant social and economic upheaval. This crisis challenged the existing social order and contributed to a decline in the power of the feudal aristocracy. Another significant challenge was the emergence of the Renaissance and the Reformation during the 16th century. The Renaissance sparked a renewed interest in classical learning and humanism, while the Reformation challenged the authority of the Roman Catholic Church. These intellectual movements had a profound impact on English society, fostering a spirit of inquiry, questioning traditional authority, and promoting new ideas about religion and the role of the Church in society. In response to these challenges, England underwent a process of political and social transformation. The Tudor dynasty, which came to power in the mid-16th century, played a pivotal role in shaping England's destiny. Under monarchs like Henry VIII and Elizabeth I, England emerged as a major player on the world stage. Henry VIII's decision to break away from the Roman Catholic Church and establish the Church of England marked a significant shift in religious and political power. Meanwhile, Elizabeth's reign saw the defeat of the Spanish Armada and the establishment of England as a naval power. These events not only secured England's independence, but also laid the foundation for its future colonial ambitions. During this time, England experienced a surge in population growth. This growth, driven by improved agricultural productivity and a decrease in mortality rates, led to a larger and more diverse workforce. This burgeoning population presented both opportunities and challenges. On one hand, the increased population provided a source of labor that fueled economic growth. On the other hand, it also led to competition for resources and housing, which contributed to social tensions and migration. Some sought to escape the pressures of an overcrowded England, while others were drawn to new lands by the promise of adventure and wealth. As England entered the 16th century, its economic landscape was transformed by the start of the Industrial Revolution. This revolution, characterized by the introduction of machines and new sources of energy, led to unprecedented levels of production and economic growth. Industries like textiles and manufacturing boomed, transforming England into a major commercial and industrial power. This rapid industrialization, however, was accompanied by significant social change. The rise of factories and mass production led to the growth of cities and the emergence of a new working class. While industrialists and merchants amassed great wealth, many workers faced harsh conditions and poverty. These stark disparities in wealth and living conditions contributed to social unrest and calls for reform. These were the various reasons behind the British colonization. Now let's see how the British colonized other countries. Colonization is a complex and multifaceted process that involves the systematic subjugation and control of one territory by another, often involving the exploitation of resources, the imposition of political and economic systems, and the displacement or subjugation of indigenous populations. The British colonization of various territories around the world unfolded differently depending on the specific circumstances of each region. However, some common patterns and characteristics can be identified. One of the primary motivations behind British colonization was the pursuit of economic gain. The British sought to acquire raw materials such as timber, cotton, and metals, and to establish markets for their manufactured goods. They also aimed to exploit the resources of colonized regions for their own benefit. For example, the British East India Company's activities in India focused on extracting valuable commodities like spices, cotton, and opium. The British Raj, which followed, further intensified the exploitation of Indian resources to fuel the British economy. Similarly, in Africa, the British focused on acquiring land for plantations and mining operations, as well as establishing trading posts along the coast. Political control was another significant aspect of British colonization. The British sought to extend their territorial control and influence over other regions. This often involved military conquest and the imposition of British laws and institutions. For example, the conquest of territories like Canada and Australia involved defeating indigenous populations and establishing British settlements. Once colonized, these regions became part of the British Empire, subject to the authority of the British Crown and Parliament. Social change was also a consequence of British colonization. The British often brought their own settlers to colonize territories, which led to the displacement or subjugation of indigenous populations. In places like North America, Australia, and New Zealand, the British imposed their culture, language, and customs on the colonized societies, often suppressing local traditions and ways of life. The British also introduced new social structures and systems of governance which replaced or coexisted with the existing social order. Now we will discuss the effects of colonization. Colonization has had profound and long-lasting effects on the colonized societies, which continue to shape their political, economic, and social landscapes. Some of the effects include political effects, economic effects, and social and cultural effects. Colonization often results in the imposition of the colonizer's political system, institutions, and laws on the colonized territory. It leads to the establishment of centralized governments, legal systems, and forms of representation that are often modeled after the colonizer's own political structures. For example, the British Raj in India introduced a centralized administrative system, a judicial system based on English common law and representative institutions that were designed to integrate India into the wider British Empire. Economically, colonization typically involves the exploitation of the colonized territory's resources for the benefit of the colonizer. Colonizers often extract raw materials, establish plantations, or engage in mining activities to acquire valuable resources. Colonization also creates dependency, as colonized economies are often structured to serve the needs and markets of the colonizing country. For instance, the British East India Company's activities in India focused on extracting valuable commodities like spices, cotton, and opium for the British market. Colonization has profound social and cultural effects, including the imposition of the colonizer's language, values, and customs on the colonized society. It often leads to the suppression or marginalization of indigenous cultures, languages, and traditions. For example, the British colonization of North America resulted in the suppression of Native American languages and cultures as English and European customs were imposed on the colonies. Colonization also often involves the mixing of different populations, leading to the emergence of new cultural forms and identities. The interaction between colonizers and colonized peoples can result in cultural exchanges, but it can also lead to tensions and conflicts. So in this way, the British colonized other countries. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Your support means a lot to us and helps us continue creating engaging and educational videos on history. If you have any feedback or suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. We love hearing from our viewers and are always looking for new ways to improve.